What's good, y'all? Welcome back to the Verdependent podcast, where we used to depend on the Verde Black for our everyday vibes, but then we grew up and learned true happiness comes from within because goddamn. This episode is sponsored by AC Memento. AC Memento, your digital sports and concert scrapbook. This week, we're reacting to Austin's poor run of form, questioning the team's trajectory between now and the FIFA World Cup break in May, and previewing the away match in Toronto before closing out the episode with a stoppage time rundown of the hottest Austin FC, MLS, and World Footy storylines of the past week. I'm Paul Fletes.
And I'm Logan Bartlett.
And before we kick things off with preheated takes and whatnot, just want to go ahead and acknowledge we haven't been the best at preempting our breaks between episodes, but we were able to plan enough ahead to share our next pause with you. So just to let you guys know, we'll be taking the next week off and returning with a recap of the Toronto FC and Houston Dynamo matches the following week. So all that to say, taking a little bit of a break, and we'll be coming back. But Lobar, why don't you go ahead and kick things off with your preheated take, my guy?
Sure, man. I mean, this was tactical. This was always the focus. I think after Austin FC purposefully bowed out of Open Cup, of course, and have decided that playoffs don't matter, we're really going to focus where it really matters. And Austin FC will win Copa Tejas this year, dominating the Texas-wide competition and making that their sole focus for the rest of the year. We can go, what is that? We can get 4 wins over the next 20-something games, and it won't matter because that's all we were playing for anyway, Copa Tejas. So that's my take. We win something.
I like it, man. Silverware at the end. I like it.
Exactly.
That's a very fair point. I'm keeping it pretty topical to this week because I know my recent history has been very long throws into the future. But as we're facing Toronto FC, my preheated take is that Austin keeps Josh Sargent, of US M&T lore, from scoring at BMO Field.
Hey, so you're making a very tactical, a very smart, and a very sound preheated take. That's going to be a point, hopefully, for you. I'm just throwing Dookie to the wind and seeing what Esteves can make for it. So.
Sounds good, man. Well, let's go ahead and jump right into things here. We're trying to laugh because it hurts to do anything else right now regarding this team. But the title of the first half is back-to-back losses. So we're recording after the Open Cup match against Louisville City, and we have the distinct privilege of covering back-to-back losses, which come on the heels of back-to-back draws, which against Inter Miami and LAFC felt like wins. So We're starting with the Galaxy loss at Q2 first, which saw Austin trot the same starting 11 that matched up against Inter Miami. In last week's preview to this game, Lobar, we thought that the Galaxy's loss in Mexico to Toluca in CCC play and their skid in the league would mean that Austin notched its second W in 2026. But as we're going to get into here in a second, Carson came to just bunker and counter their way to 3 points on the road for the first time in MLS regular season play since October 22nd, 2024 against the Colorado Rapids, my guy. So take us into your mind. How did you view that game, and what were your main takeaways from the performance in front of the home crowd?
It was frustrating, right? I'm trying to just put myself back. For whatever reason, I'm getting distracted on fighting seats for the whole first half to make sure UNK had somewhere to stand. Because for whatever reason, this game was packed. So I spent a good 35 minutes very much watching the game, but my memory of that, because of how little the play on the field.
Stands,
which is wide stands. Like, these seats are taken. All right, cool. Like that was
I
the
appreciate
first.
It, brother.
No, of course. No, I don't say that as a complaint. I say that more so to say that so little was happening on the field for Austin that is the thing that stands out for me. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. It was another game where, if I remember correctly, we came out very strong, had a couple chances early that dinged off the post or were saved or what have you. Didn't end up in a goal is the point. And we looked strong and exciting for a few minutes, and then the momentum just shifted to stagnant, uninspired play, frustration. We were commenting as the game went on in the second half that, like watching Facundo Torres, right? When we had possession, when we have the ball, watching him like try to tell everybody around him what he wants them to do so he can get into positions of danger, with the ball on his foot. And it was just constant, like him pointing, telling people to make a run past him, move into space so he could get where he wanted to get. and it felt cool in the moment, right? It was one of those things like, oh, cool, we're watching our guy like quarterback everything. He's
Mm-hmm.
dictating the flow. But as the game went on, you realize that it's like he feels it's a necessity to tell people what to do so he can get the ball where he needs it because they're not finding him in the regular flow of play. Um, I don't really want to go deeper than that with this. We could talk about the coaching staff and the tactics and blah blah blah. But it was just very that stood out after the match, right? It was like that frustration from our DP who lit this league on fire for multiple years in a row in Orlando. Being their top goal earner and assist earner, all these accolades in his time, and now a third of the season, a third of the way through this season, he's has a few assists, mostly on free kicks, has been largely ineffective in the run of play as the whole team has, um, and it was just one of those games, man. I remember an hour in after, or 70 minutes in or whatever, after Galaxy got their second goal, just sprinting down the length of the field and on the foot of Eric Tommy scoring, um,
Mm-hmm.
just sitting there literally going like, Jesus, we suck. Like just emoting like, dude, we fucking suck. What are we doing? What is this?
Right.
What am I watching?
Yeah.
So it was just one of those games, man, of like frustration. Our expectations were maybe wrongly informed by what we felt as strong performances against strong sides. And then, matching up at home against a weak side, at least on regular season paper, it just felt like we, as fans, deserve so much more out of this. And it was frustrating.
I hear that, man. I hear that. Yeah, I think that frustration word has definitely been thrown around a lot in the discourse among Austin FC fans, and I think rightfully so. I think that's one of those things where, for me, I was looking at this game, and you mentioned earlier at the beginning that Kate and I were coming in. We came in after kickoff because it was also Austin Kite Fest in the morning, and so we were coming from that, and we were like, well, it should be fine. We're just playing Galaxy. They're down bad. We'll be up by 2 by the time that we get back in. And the first 3 minutes was, I think, when we had that chance, right? I think it was like that Rosales long switch of play over to Uzuni, who holds up well, and then feeds it to Ramirez, who's able to get a shot off. I think first and foremost, I haven't heard enough of this, and so I think I want to make sure that I say this. JT Marcinkowski deserves some credit here.
Yes,
Something about Q2 and being in Austin, Texas as a visiting keeper, it just always makes them want to like have the best games of their careers, because I feel like we've scored plenty on JT before when he was with San Jose, but for him to have the game that he did and have some really good saves, adds to that frustration that you're speaking on. So I just
100%.
we can talk about the officiating, sure, but that's already been kind of hashed out. We can talk about the lack of urgency that was prevalent throughout minute, I don't know, 40 through like 70 really. um but I think that's also another factor is that keeper just had a really good game. And I think for us, we turned off and we didn't do ourselves justice with really being the aggressor during this match. But um, I think what's difficult about this one is looking just last year, right? It's a new era with Nico at the helm. 7 games into the season, we were looking really good with 4 wins, 2 losses, and a draw at 14 points. And fast forward to now, and we're looking at the club's worst start to the season, 7 games in, with a 1 win, 3 loss, 3 tie record, and sitting on 6 points. So I feel like, I don't know, this loss in isolation, wouldn't really be too much cause for concern. But when you zoom back far enough, I mean, we're closer to the bottom than we are to the playoff spots. Everyone's telling us that we need to be patient and wait for folks to get healthy and all that stuff. But if everyone's also saying that, this is the best team that Austin's had, I'm confused as to like why these players aren't stepping up and delivering and closing out games when we need them to. Um, and so I'm curious and I wanted to hear your thoughts on this, but is there more to this slump than just like the player availability? Like, I'm curious mainly on how much you think this is on players that we have available and how much is on Nico.
Yeah. We'd be silly not to point to the lack of players top players on this team as one of the factors. Of course, like, I'm not going to sit here and act like we have a full strength roster and you know this is a travesty that we're starting off at this pace for the season, right? We're missing one of our DPs. In fact, like our number one DP, the guy that's on the MLS season ads on behalf of our team, like a U.S. men's national team fringe guy, if he's healthy, I could see him getting a shout in the World Cup if he stays healthy. We do even better with him last year, and we have a stronger start to the season in Brandon Vasquez, of course. And then we have Owen Wolf, a guy who's on a similar trajectory to be one of the, he's already one of the young faces of this league when it comes to those homegrown younger players. He's getting recognition for that, and he's yet to play a game. So by all means, I want to recognize that, those two guys alone, their availability is noted. And then, of course, we have all the other guys in and out of the injury, the medical room, right? So it's definitely playing a part, the injuries, but we have a great roster. I mean, I'll get more into this when we talk about the Open Cup game, but the commentators made a point there that, our second, third string midfielder in Nico Dubrasarski cost $3 million to bring in, right? And he's like, him alone is worth more than possibly the entirety of Louisville City's roster, And so you look at the caliber of expected, of expectations and expected value in this league, and you think, okay, well, these guys should be able to fill in well enough to get us points when we still have Facundo Torres, we still have Mirko Zuni, we have at this point our entire back line that started more games than not last season healthy in Biro, Heinzike, Svatak, and Dessler, right? And great backups in Gallagher and John Bell's played decently strong for the most part this year. Guys with track records to do well. So, like, defensively, we're looking good. We had Elias Sanchez all season until this Galaxy game when he gets injured. So I say all this in a long-winded way to get to the point that it's, in my opinion, this is on Nico. This is on the coaching staff. This is on the tactics. This is on not putting players in a place of strength. We talked about Torres as an example. You can go on Reddit. You can go on Twitter. I'm sure you can listen to any other podcast, and we're going to talk about this. It's a trend that we're seeing now with first Bukhari, now Torres, guys that do really, really well in wide spaces, running in open space and having the freedom to play with the ball on their feet, consistently being taken out of that place of strength by this manager and put into different areas of the field that maybe they're not as strong, or it just takes more to get them the ball, right? And even if it's not that serious, they're not getting the ball, and that's the problem, regardless, we're not playing through our stars enough. They're not getting enough touches. We're seeing Joseph Rosales, who's been good for this team, right? But like, he's been our main facilitator a lot of the year, and that's not good enough when we have $10 million players in front of him, with the expectations that they have. So I really do, I acknowledge the lack of availability we've had from top tier players and even guys, in the rotation. I acknowledge that, we have a strong roster from top to bottom that should be able to compete. And it really comes down to our coach and our coaching staff at this point for us not getting results, which is frustrating again.
Yeah, no, man, that's a really good way that you set that all up, because I'm also feeling about the same way. And I've tried my best to be patient with Nico, because I think when he came in to replace Josh Wolf, I think there was a lot of hesitation with the fact that, like, this is too much of a similar profile to how Josh set the team up previously. But I think with a lot of his defensiveness or like defensive focus, right, and upgrading the team's like transition defense and things like that, it's just been one of those things that I have been just so desperately wanting this team to be more of an aggressor and be more on the front foot, especially at home. But like, when you are facing the bottom of the West in LA Galaxy, you should be able to do exactly what you want to do and implement your game plan on that team. And for us to get punched in the mouth first over a counter, that leads to a corner and just absolutely get dunked on. I think I remember the quote that I said next to you is like, dude, we just got Austin, on that corner by
Exactly.
Maya Yoshida.
We're supposed to score.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is frustrating. And I think for me, it's one of those things where looking at the body language of the players during that match specifically, I think I was just more aware of all of the hands going up or all of the frustrated looks.
Exactly.
And that's something that I have to, tie right back to the head coach, because it's like, why are these people so frustrated on the pitch? They should be able to implement whatever the game plan is, but if they're struggling, they're having a hard time. That's a little bit on, actually not a little bit. That's a lot of it on the game plan the week before or whatever, leading up to that match. But also, I don't know. I feel like the players, man, I struggle because I look at Mirto as an example of someone who was consistently running around and doing the thing. And I know that, like, yeah, he runs around great, but he's doing the right things that he's supposed to be doing in terms of chance creation or trying to get a shot off or trying to, get some balls into dangerous areas. But then I look at, the likes of like a Biro not having the best game that he's had, Svatak, in that second goal that let Tommy, score that second goal for LA Galaxy. Abovich, man, the way that he is moving on the ball and making decisions in the middle of the pitch, I don't know what to do with that, because it's slowing everything else up, and we don't want to see, you know, just this back and forth tiki taka,
Yeah.
and then finally
Yeah.
releasing a free player. Like, we got to move with urgency if we're trying to like win at home. And so I don't know, man. It's a lot, but
The team, we just seem so like passive and responsive, right? We're not dictating the flow of play in any of these games. We get 5 to 10 minutes of that where we see like, oh, we're dominating the ball, we're dominating possession, we're creating chances when we start off a game. And if the first couple chances don't go in, well, then we just sit back and play this passive, responsive game where
mhm.
we're relying on team defense, we're relying on kind of the whole unit, which at its best is a gorgeous way to play the game, right? I acknowledge that, but we're not playing it at its best, and we never really saw that consistently last year. So we're in this place where we're expecting a team that's not going to score many goals, which has been Nico Stevis's kind of bread and butter throughout his career, and now we're a team that can't stop teams from scoring, right? So what are we supposed to do with that? You get negative goal differentials, you get 1-3-3 records, you get frustration, and so we have a lot of time this season to change that. We have more opportunities. We have, you know, fewer distractions from league play at this point.
Sure. Yeah.
Great. Let's see what the response looks like. But um, if Nico Estevez hasn't changed in 5 years as a head coach, why would he change now? So it's one of those things of like, man, why are it just these numbers rattle around in my head? $10 million striker, $10 million kind of sort of striker winger, $10 million winger, 37 goals scored, 1 win on the season. Just all these numbers, like, what, it's not lining up. We're getting, barely a goal per dollar spent, with our front
Yeah.
three, like not even, or per $1 million spent, and that's not even true. We're getting less than that from those three guys specifically. So it just, you start looking back and then digging up all these past frustrations, because this is what happens, when anger and frustration come to the forefront.
I hear that, man. I hear that.
Let's talk
Well,
about some happy stuff like the Open Cup. Oh,
I was just gonna say, man, I think we're getting ahead of ourselves, because we have yet to talk about the Open Cup, which is a really good opportunity for us to maybe try to replay some of that magic from 2025. As it would be, we were very confident that this would be a game that featured the likes of a Damian Lawson goal, Djordjevic at center back, and a Sabovic that, maybe didn't have the best game against Galaxy. Well, now he's got an opportunity against USL opposition. Let's see what you can do, brother. And all those kinds of folks, in a cup win for Austin FC. Instead, we got the team getting outworked and cup set by a USL side who has not seen victory against MLS opposition in 8 years. 8 years, bro. Dr. Austin, we'll see you now. You'll get better. Okay.
yes.
So I guess shit, we were supposed to try to be optimistic and upbeat here, but I don't know. Lobar, you watch this game. I'll be honest. I was taking a mental break and getting my dopamine fix at Coda riding my bike. But you
Very
saw
lucky.
the game against Louisville. So I want to ask you, what differences, if any, were there in the team's performance against Louisville compared to when they played Galaxy?
I'll just say this: it, it was more of that passive responsive game plan, right? Like, this is a team that scores goals that in what is a second division, right below us,
Yeah,
professional soccer. They want the
right.
ball. They take a shit ton of shots. They score goals, right? I don't know if that's what they always do, but that's what they did this weekend, or this week. So like, um, it was more of the same. We sat back. We said we really just made Damian Laws test his worth. It seemed like just one of
Yeah.
those games where it's like, all right, Damian, save us or don't. This is on you, dog. And he did his best, man. Bro had some crazy ass saves.
The
Not
foot
much you can
save,
do.
like when he was diving down, like that
Exactly.
quick
Yeah.
save was.
He had a little, most gaff in the beginning, but he got past that quick and started making some saves. Um, it's just another game where we have every single advantage but home field advantage, right?
Yep.
In our favor. We have the on paper most talented players. We have the most expensive roster. We have the pedigree. We have the momentum in the tournament compared to last year. You're looking at last year, right? All the reasoning, all the reasons to do well in this tournament again and really fight our ass off to get back to the final. And we just completely let it slip away, man. And it's a game where so I'm moving, I'm doing all these things. I paused the game for a little bit when it was 0-0, right? About the 19th minute or the 21st minute or something like that. Pause it, talking with my landlord a little bit. I'm like maybe 6-7 minutes behind. And Lojo, exactly. And Lojo's watching, and I was like, I'm behind, don't spoil anything. And he's like, bro, you might as well not watch. And I was like, great. So I keep it going. And I'm skipping 10 seconds at a time on a throw in or whatever. Um, just the frustration kept mounting and mounting, right? Because for whatever reason, we're in our defensive third. Every time I hit fast forward 10 seconds, every time I hit fast forward 10 seconds, we're in our defensive third again. And, they keep peppering the goal, and it just, we all know what happened, right? They scored 2 goals. We scored one. That's the game. What to do? Shout out CJ Fudry, by the way, for his Open Cup magic once again. Getting that goal that made us believe for just a few minutes that we might come back again. But um, one thing I said last week in the context of the Open Cup is that historically Austin has not done well against USL sides in this competition. And people might look at that and say, what do you mean? We had a 2-1 record going in. We've won 2 of the games of the 3. Well, we lost one of those to San Antonio. The second one was the El Paso game where we went down 2-0, right? And we had to claw our way back to, a magical comeback win, right? And then the New Mexico game was the New Mexico game. I don't give a shit about that. But it's just like we should be dominating a team 4-1 like Houston did against El Paso, right? We should be dominating these teams every time we play them because we have the players that we have and the pedigree that we have. And it's just an embarrassment, bro, that every year we don't even think we can get past the round of 32 because of our track record. And it's just another skid mark on the history of this team in tournament play. Violette, fucking San
Say
Antonio,
that.
Louisville, right? Like we're League's Cup getting shit on at Q2, like just time and time again, we have these horrible experiences outside of league play. And then it makes you really think like, do we even have that many great experiences in league play? I guess not. I guess we're kind of just ass, you know? Because you think back to that one year where we had a great postseason run. And
Yeah.
that really has carried the narrative of, how exciting this club can be. Um, anyway, it's a lot of negativity right now. And I know the listener, you're probably fatigued by that. And I appreciate y'all letting us do this. But
Yeah.
it's just another reminder of like, damn, bro, we kind of do suck ass as a team historically, but I love
Yeah.
this team and I'm going to keep showing up. But
That's
god
right.
damn, is it difficult to be excited?
Yeah. I hear that, man. I hear that. And that was really well said, because I'm just thinking back now when Yumi and Lojo were thinking about starting this podcast. It was right in the heyday of the bowels that was 2023, I believe. Um, so I mean, things were tough then, and I think to be able to look back and go, damn, not much has really changed. It's a it's a bit of a bummer, but it is what it is. I think for me, the way I am going to try to get myself out of this, um, headspace is to think of the fact that like the team themselves, including Nico, for better or for worse, they are able to somehow just live in isolation of all of this noise that we're generating right now. You know, say what you want about, hearing the fans or whatever, but I don't think they're really giving it much validation because they are able to tune this out. And if I remember correctly, in 2025 last year, I mean, there were moments where, that we had a little bit of dips and forms, but they were managing to like hang through and they were getting by and the wins were there. For some reason, it's not happening this year, but I still think more than ever, the team is going to try to rally. And so I wouldn't be surprised if we start to see, just a big overcorrection from an offensive output standpoint. I don't know. That's me being hopeful, but
Yeah, one can
um,
hope, right? I think a lot of, it was very pointed that you made it clear, like we're recording this after the Louisville game, right? So almost take everything with a grain of salt because the frustration, if this game is just another league game and we lose 2-1, I'm not happy, but I'm not as mad because I'm like, great, we got Owen Wolf coming back in a week or two. We
mhm.
got Brandon Vasquez coming back in a week or two, yada, yada, or whatever his timeline is. Good is on the horizon. The fact that we just lose to another USL side and we don't even give our guys the chance to make the comeback to the final when we're at full strength is where a lot of the frustration comes. So, it stings, and it's another lost chance for this club. That some of the Elie Sanchez probably won't be here next year, right? You look at this roster, like there's probably going to be guys that aren't on this team next year that wanted this chance, right? And he was injured and couldn't play, and Danny Pereira gets injured 10 minutes again, and who knows what his future looks like this season or with the team. Hopefully it's just a scar tissue thing like Nico talked about, and he's back on Saturday or next week, and that's okay. But, you're mentally, shit's getting wonky when everybody's injured left and right again. So,
Yeah, doesn't feel good, but that's all we can do is just, sit and be patient. But damn, man, I mean,
cheat.
all I would encourage listeners and other Verde faithful is to find a way, find a way outside of this team because to keep you sane. Because I
Sure.
appreciate all of the community and all of the good things that came with this team, finding roots here in Austin. But I don't want to make it super deep because right now we're criticizing the play on the field, right? And we're criticizing the coach's tactics and his ability to get the best out of players. But beyond that,
Exactly.
everything else is still, a blessing,
Of
to be able to
course.
have friends and connections and all these things that we can rally around.
Of course.
So I don't know, just got to get off my
Well,
soapbox now.
I think that's a good transition to halftime, right? Where we can maybe talk a little more hopeful.
We'll try it. We'll try it. But yeah, so let's go ahead and jump into halftime here. So with our hopes of lifting the Lamar Hunt Open Cup trophy dashed earlier this week, we're now staring down the barrel of a stretch of 8 games before the World Cup break in late May. So those fixtures include away at Toronto this coming Saturday, away at San Jose, hosting Houston at home, followed by St. Louis. Then we have Minnesota away, San Diego away, followed by hosting SKC, and then on the road to St. Louis. Given that MLS doesn't return to action until mid-July and Austin has to wait until the 22nd, this has to be like the stretch that we were talking about in other episodes where we have to start stacking those points. And I just kind of picked an arbitrary number where I felt like I think this makes sense to maybe set the line, and I have it at 21 points to be within touching distance of the playoffs. And where we're sitting at with 6, that means that we need 15 of a possible 24 to be on track. So that's 15. That's 5 wins in
5
8.
wins, yeah, 4 wins, a few draws, right?
Yeah. So I mean, let's just get right into it, man. Do you feel like this is attainable? Like what's your realistic expectation for this 8 game run in?
I really think it depends on player health, man, and that may seem a bit counter to the first half conversation of like, coaches versus players, but I think it really depends on when does Owen Wolf finally come back, right? And when does Brandon Vasquez finally come back? And is Danny really just going to be out maybe a game or something, and he's
Right.
fine. Ilie will be back in a couple weeks. We start looking at that trend, and I think the closer, well, I'll say this on the injury front. We've heard a lot of maybe, oh, soon from Estevez and the
Mm.
coaching staff. And I think that's smart, not getting our expectations up too high and giving the player time to be comfortable. But the closer we get to that break, that World Cup break, and we still aren't seeing these guys come back, hypothetically, the more likely that it is that they're not even going to play till after, and they're fully healthy and they get a chance to run and practice and do all these things and then come back for the July return and Leagues Cup and all that. I doubt that'll happen that way. We'll probably get some run from these guys. We'll see Owen Wolf come back hopefully sooner than later. Vasquez get a few games under his belt. But I think, man, like these few games that we just played, or these couple games we just played, right? Galaxy and Open Cup versus a USL side. Those should have, and were supposed to be our comeback
Pickups.
games,
Yep.
right? You get a flailing opponent at home, and you get a on paper weaker side in a tournament that you have, a bone to pick
Reach the
with.
finals for. Yeah.
Exactly. We failed both of those. That can't be good for morale, right? Cannot be good for
Mm.
morale. And
Yeah.
so 5 wins over 8 matches when we have 1 through 7 is a tough task, especially when 5 of those games are on the road. You have opponents in San Diego who are amazing. You have opponents in Houston and San Jose who always cause chaos when we play them. It's just a coin flip more often than not if we're going to get the win or not. And it's just a tough stretch, man. Like teams, we're now at the point in the season where, we're getting close to 10 games in. Teams are looking at the standings and they mean a little bit. It's not the further we get into the season and the lower we are on the standings, the more teams look at us like we looked at LA Galaxy, right? As
Mm-hmm.
a game they should be winning. So it all the chips are against us. It feels like when we look at the stretch. Do I think it's attainable? I do. I really do, but it really just depends on a few things. I think it's Nico's response to the Open Cup loss and the guys' response, of course. It's,
Mm-hmm.
do we get Owen Wolf back? Do we get Brandon Vasquez back before this break? Because if we get one or both of those guys back, I think we start seeing a little bit more consistency on offense. We see some, kind of a new invigoration in this team
Mm-hmm.
and a chance to build momentum around their return. It can only be good for us. So, yeah, it's attainable, but we're really gonna have to lock in, bro. Just straight up. That's what it comes down to. Get some guys back and
Dude.
lock in. Fucking
Yeah.
prove that we're not a 13th place team, and it's just a tough stretch. Um, yeah, the players have the metal for it, but I don't know if the tactics can catch up in time. So
At this point, man, I kind of I am trying to subscribe to the belief that this league has a way of always reminding me that it's so unpredictable. And I think I kind of got carried away there for a while because this is a fucking smash and grab type league. And the tacticians out there that are like, oh, like we got to make sure that this shape is looking all good, brother. Who gives a fuck if that ball in the net goes in more times than when your opponent's
yeah,
does? That's what matters. Okay, so like whatever it needs to be. um I liked it when we were considering ourselves as a more direct counter, team. That's when we got those 3 wins in a row early in Nico's tenure here in Austin. And since then, dude, like it's always been like just hot and cold in terms of like when those wins were happening the rest of the 2025 season. And now it's like now we're really seeing it. So I don't know, man. That said, I think it's attainable, yeah, because it's MLS and you can't ever really predict. But I think given that we are kind of in this, what is it, 6 game or 5 game winless streak, it's like it's bound to pop at some point.
yeah, it has to. Right,
It's got to,
players are too
and
good not to.
yeah, yeah. Um, so I don't know. I feel like of those 15 that we need, I think realistically we get maybe 10. of a possible 24.
I mean, that's realistic, right? We're at 6 right now through 7.
Yeah,
And one of those draws could have easily been a win, right? One of those losses could have easily been a draw, and we're pretty much on that pace. So, I think that's a very fair pace. I think it's going to be a little bit more than that, maybe 12 points, maybe 13 points, right? Because we see Owen Wolf and Vasquez or whoever else come back and add some, raise that ceiling and raise that floor a little bit for us. Um, and so, yeah, I could see us getting 12, 13, something like that. And I'd be okay with it.
for
I'd
sure.
like to
For
see
sure.
15 plus.
Yeah.
I'd be very happy with that. The season's completely different at that point, right? But yeah, man, it's tough.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, man, let's go ahead and take a break real quick. And when we come back, we'll talk a little bit about that first game, which is the away trip to Toronto. So hang back and we'll be right back. Alrighty, and we're back. Austin FC make their way to the 6th this Saturday, April 18th, for an early noon kickoff against 6th in the East, Toronto FC. The head-to-head has the two sides locked at a win each with 2 goals per team. After starting 2026 with 2 losses, the Reds have gone on to a 5-game unbeaten streak as they host Austin at BMO Field this weekend. Robin Fraser has done well with a team that entered their retooling era, picking up Walker Zimmerman, Daniel Shalloway, Emilio Aristizabal, who's a U22 pickup, I believe, and Josh Sargent. But some injuries to the likes of Georgi Mihailovic and Walker Zimmerman mean Austin faces a team that, like them, is having to be without key players, which should make up for an interesting matchup. What is Nico telling the boys this week, Lobar, in preparation for this trip as we aim to snap the 6-game winless streak?
Shit, bro. What is he telling them? You got this. You're
Right.
doing your orange slices at halftime. You're doing great. Like he's telling
He seems like
them,
that kind of guy, right? Like no matter
sure,
what, you're going to get orange slices at halftime.
yeah.
That kind of vibe.
Hey, it helps with the cramps or whatever. I think, man, what I want to see is kind of a story of like redemption and motivation, right? Um, I think he said what he's need to say in interviews and post game press conferences and whatnot to take the blame for the stretch, right? He's made it clear that we have the talent, we have the players, it's on him, all these things. That's all fine and well. I think in the locker room, he's probably motivating the players, saying, "Hey, you have the talent to play with these guys, no matter who's in front of us." Right? Um, I would imagine there's probably some conversation around this team defense idea, right? We got to shut runners down before they can get deep in the box and have one-on-ones with center backs. We need to, XYZ, whatever that looks like, to really keep teams running around, press, take advantage of space, all these things. Um, I think what I'm hoping is this kind of this like keep downing us idea, right? Because so far the doubters have been right, and we've heard that narrative already from guys like Nico Dubrsarski and others who've talked to the media saying like, hey, we got a lot of noise. We're not listening to that. The MLS pundits, fans, the standings, the results or lack thereof. We're not paying attention to that. And we know we have the quality. So I hope he's stoking that fire and getting this team ready, right? Toronto, they're a team that can score, but they're not, shooting the lights out or anything in the grand
True.
scheme of things. They have 10
Yeah.
goals. That's great. That's a good mark. We have 8 and we're mad at our offensive struggles. Or we're pointing out that we have offensive struggles. We have just 2 fewer goals than them, right? So it's not like they're, scoring 19 goals like they're Vancouver or something.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
so in theory, they're stoppable. I think this is one of those games where this group of players is never going to face this opponent again. So go out there, give them a fit, play your game, lock it down, right? Show that we can have a good defensive performance on the road.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I hope he's really taking into account, right, the frustrations that we're clearly seeing on the field from guys like Torres and Uzuni and the midfield by and large, when folks are healthy, we see it across the midfield. So I hope he's taking and listening to what they're saying and empowering them to like act on that, you know? So this is, I think, still a winnable game, right? Like this, for all the struggles that we have, I think this is a game that we can win and that we could win. And yeah, I think we have a chance with the injuries you pointed out. So
Yeah, I I'm with you, man. And I think for me, what I have a hard time wrapping my head around is the fact that we are not closing out the games that we have been either leading late into the game or it's like when we close those, like we are in such a much better position on the table because we're locking those 3 points down. And I think here a lot of what I'm asking for is for us to kind of assume that aggressive role, right? You heard it in the press conference after the game against LA Galaxy. Nico's saying that the team needs to be a little bit more aggressive on offense and things like that. Have more bite to it. And so I think for me, like when we struggle so much offensively, like we really have to challenge ourselves to figure out like, okay, all of those different outlets of play that we had early against LA Galaxy, the way that we had against Inter Miami, it's there for us, but we just have to start converting and we have to be more clinical. And so I think for me, I don't know, man. It's like I'm looking at Mirto, who just scored his second goal, right, and is now leading the team with goals with 2. Facundo, ironically, has more goals and assists with 3, all coming from those corners, right? So, in keeping in the theme of this offense, I'm curious to know who else are you looking for to kind of help carry that weight from an offensive output standpoint against Toronto?
Um, fuck, who's healthy, right? That's the thing. I mean, of course, our DPs, right? You name them. We got to get Facundo Torres scoring, in my opinion.
Mm,
But it really comes down to Jaden Nelson. It comes down to Rosales, right? These guys who have been successful and relatively consistent in my mind in creating opportunities for themselves and for others, right? They're able to do some cool stuff on the ball that gets fans excited and creates kind of half opportunities that they can make something out of. Um, I think we'll need to see more creation, chance creation from guys like Nelson and Rosales if we're going to see Torres and Uzuni score more. I think an example of that at the end of what was it, the Galaxy game, the end of the Galaxy game, Nelson's in, Uzuni hits that banger in the 73rd minute or whatever it was. And we have one last chance, right? Nelson does a great job to take the ball wide, spread the defense out and get past his defender and create an opportunity. And in those moments, I mean, he took that shot and missed wide at the near post, but it's like he did everything right until the last decision. Uzuni is right there running at him wide open, almost in the exact same place, but on the other side of the box as his goal. Your job is to get it to Uzuni in that place, right?
mm-hmm.
Respectfully. You're a great
Yeah,
player. You have a goal for us. You deserve to take shots where you can find them. But you, this team can, in my opinion, can only go as far as guys like Uzuni, Torres, and Vasquez. I mean, maybe Owen Wolf can take us offensively. And so it's
sure.
those little moments of decision where we need to really look for the best opportunity possible, right? So I think Nelson's done a great job of that. Rosales himself too. And we need them to just unlock that final piece to find the best chance possible when they're creating.
For sure. Well, see, I'm going to push back on you just a little bit here because I mean, looking back at this LA Galaxy game, and I know like recency bias or whatever, but I mean, Jaden has a close shot. Dessler has a very good look on a header, right? Biro has an opportunity from a Mirto cross, and so all of these other players, coming from like that wing back position, that Nico likes to employ moving forward and interchanging and either inverting into the middle or still continuing from the flanks. It's like I need to see more from those players that are being asked to haul ass up the field but still also haul ass back to defend and track when necessary. Like it needs to be that, offense by committee where, all those players that are finding themselves inside the box with a position, an opportunity to put the ball in the net, to like just capitalize and do that, because we were able to do it against Inter Miami. We saw it when we got the corner right, and Biro slots that, and then when we let Jaden go free for that one-on-one.
Sure. I mean, great run.
It's just, I think for me, man, we just got to get clinical whenever everyone who's not a DP is in a position to score. So there's no one particular player that I'm calling out here, but I think
That's fair.
just
That's fair.
if you're in there, man, you gotta do your thing. You know what I'm saying?
I'll meet you in the middle then, right? It's easier. It feels better when we don't go like 50 minutes without a creating opportunity, right? So I can see where a player like Nelson, who only plays if he gets subbed in this game, I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he
It's
got
all
subbed
blurry.
in around the 70th or something.
Okay,
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, he gets subbed in, right? He's doing well on the ball. He's creating excitement. Like all kudos to him. Yes, take those opportunities. I won't argue that, but I think it's that idea of, I'll say, an ideal situation, right? When we're creating consistent offense for 90 minutes, which almost never happens. But let's just say that's where we're striving towards, and we can get to a place where we have these constant moments of being dangerous on offense. Yeah, take everybody. There will be enough chances for everybody to get shots, But I think, in that very specific moment, and these are the moments I'm looking at in games of this stretch, right? As we're still becoming healthy and still trying to figure out our offensive identity, right? You see a guy like Uzuni who is playing his ass off and wants the ball. He's making it clear, like, I'm going to take this shot, right? Set me up, bro. You have two dudes in front of you. You have a tough angle. I'm at the top of the box wide open, bro. I already hit one of these 15 minutes ago. Set me up, Like, it's one of those moments of like, put your head up a little bit. I get all this. It's a lot easier said as a fan watching. I completely understand. But I think that has to be part of the narrative of this team's offensive identity of like, since we aren't creating a million opportunities all game, like, we really need to pick and choose the best quality possible at every turn, and I started this by saying, like, I think Nelson and Rosales have been doing great in the chances they're creating. And I stand by that, right? This isn't necessarily like a knock against Nelson of like, oh, he did bad. But it's just
Mm-hmm.
one of those things of like, because our team is so sparse in their offensive production, or like they come in these little bursts 2-3 times a game at most. It's just, you almost have to be perfect every game for those to win those games, because we create so few chances that are worth, a shit. So yeah, you're right. Take the chance you can get. I'm never going to get mad at the guy. And I wasn't mad at him necessarily for taking the shot, but it's just one of those moments of like, if we can refine those moments when they come, that's how we're going to get points in the stretch. And against a team like Toronto on the road, it's like feed the hot foot.
Hell yeah. The hot foot with 2 goals, baby. Love it.
Yes, sir.
I love it. I love it. Well, really quickly, I think we should definitely plug in the Los Verdes watch party. So for folks that want to go out and enjoy the weather on a Saturday, I believe it's supposed to cool down quite a bit. So it should feel really nice. But over at Meanwhile Brewing, LV is having their watch party, and it's starting at 11 in the morning with the kickoff at noon, like we mentioned earlier. Lots of food trucks are going to be available. I almost said lots of parking, but I mean, if you've ever been to Meanwhile Brewing, know that the parking situation is
If you
questionable at
find
best.
parking half a mile down the street, there's lots of parking.
Exactly. But it is an awesome venue. It is family friendly. Got the playground and great place to sit outdoors and enjoy beer and some food and all that good stuff. So definitely go check it out with some more Austin fans out there. But I guess, Lobar, at this time, should we close out with some predictions before we move on to stoppage?
Another win. Keep the winless streak alive. But I think 1-1's
Yeah.
realistic.
1-1, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't. It's just frustrating, man, because I look at the opportunities that were generated against Galaxy. If Marcinkowski wasn't playing his ass off, those go in, and we're looking at multi goals. And I think now it's like I think they're going to really want to prove themselves. And I don't know, man. I feel like we're going to get a multi-goal situation here in Toronto. So I'm going to say
Hey, I like it.
2-1 Austin on the road. First
Return
road
the
points of
favor.
the year.
Yeah, the last couple games, losing
Yeah.
2-0, 2-1, you're flipping on set. Hey, I'm not mad at that. I'm doing my best to not to just keep it like look at the game ahead of me when I look at these predictions. In a vacuum, I will be very happy with a 1-1 draw on the road, right?
Yes.
And I'll be mad at the 2-1 loss at home against a LA Galaxy team, but that doesn't mean I'm going to force my prediction to be like a 3-0 win on the road because when has that ever happened? So it's
Right,
that
right.
idea. Like what I expect is we have a valiant, strong effort. Maybe that's 1-1. Shit, maybe it's 2-1, and that's even better. Obviously, um, but I don't want to be like if we don't win this, I'm mad because a draw on the road against in a bonus game is cool.
We've seen it.
That's what
Yeah, we've
makes the
seen it
playoffs. Yeah, if you
against
do
Inter
your
Miami, man.
exactly, if you handle your business at home, that's how you make the playoffs. So
Amen, bro.
anyway,
Amen. Well, like I said, that's going to be a noon kickoff Saturday, the 18th. Yeah, should be a good one. Like I said, both teams are injured, but we'll see how it goes. Before we get into stoppage, I totally meant to mention this at the top of the show, but given the timing of this, so for folks that follow me on social media, I wanted to very briefly just call out that I am writing for multiple sclerosis awareness. So for folks that don't know, the MS 150 is a ride that benefits the National Multiple Sclerosis Association, or excuse me, Society. And so, yeah, I'm fundraising, and I believe the deadline is for the 18th of this month. And so I'm just making this shout here on the pod. It's going to be the only time that I mention it because I am not good with fundraising and all that stuff. I think the last time I did it was when I was a band kid for a much less noble cause. But that said, if you are willing to support the fundraiser, I'll make sure to share a link in the show notes. So feel free to check that out. But just wanted to mention that now and get that out. But yeah,
I highly recommend donating if you can. I donated, goes toward a great cause. I think many people know someone or have someone close to them that have suffered from MS or who've been affected by MS. So me included, right? So I donated myself. I know a couple of the homies have donated, and I endorse that. So
for sure. And for folks that are listeners of the pod who have donated, I have already mentioned individual thank yous, but just another thank you again for the continued support. But yeah, that's it for that. And we'll go ahead and jump into some stoppage here. And so our first look is with the U.S. women's national team getting their win streak shut out by Japan in this little friendly series against the Japanese national team. So I
yeah,
believe that was a 10 win streak. I forgot to
yeah. I
add
was
the
about to
10 there.
say is 10-game winning streak over how long? A year and 8 months or some shit like that. However long it had been, I don't remember
Yeah,
all the
several
windows that they
windows.
played.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it remind me, or I guess the listener this was a rotated squad, right? We had a lot of younger players show up for this
Heavily.
game, and yeah,
Yeah.
um,
Which not mad at necessarily, a lot of good moments in there for the youngsters, but I think Emma's doing the right thing by giving
sure,
these girls some run out.
yeah. I saw the average lineups the average appearances for this
Mhm.
lineup across the starting 11 was 23.9 caps compared to the other games 50 or 56.3 for this the first game of the windows.
Yeah,
Definitely made a move there.
for sure. Intentional. Also intentional. Looking over at the MLS, we have Javier Mascherano intentionally stepping down as Inter Miami boss. No questions whatsoever on that move. Thoughts, Lobar?
Yeah, what's going on in that front office, bro? Like um they win the MLS Cup and bring in more talent um to make this roster even scarier, and Sure, they're having a slower start maybe than expected to the season with cup play, CCC play, obviously bowing out earlier in the competition. Not being the number one team in the league
Right.
to date. Maybe below expectations. It's pretty crazy to see that he left on his own volition. At least that's what we're hearing. He may have been forced out. Who knows?
Yeah. Does it, I know this isn't on our list here, but does it give you any kind of hope for some kind of change in the manager's seat early on in Austin's season?
No, I don't think. Roto respects contracts, so it's one of
Yeah.
those things where, and I made some jokes already about if Miami can do it, why not us?
Yeah.
Off the pod. Um, I I'll give my boys some more time. I know the circumstances aren't the best, so I'm not, by no means am I calling for a coaching change tomorrow, but we're definitely trending that direction if things don't look
Quickly
better,
change. I
by the
agree,
summer
man.
window. So I won't go as far to say that today, but it's just I'm tired of my club sucking when there's Wilfred Nancy without a job and you
Here,
know
here.
other folks of his caliber sitting out there or coaching USL or whatever else they're doing. So
Yeah. Hey, apparently a USL coach will help your team out, just like a Dallas, man. They're
yeah,
doing all right. But anyway,
LA too, a couple of seasons back,
uh,
right?
yeah, true, true. Looking over at Open Cup action, we have Third Division One Knoxville SC taking down DC United in Pens in Open Cup play.
Yeah, it could be
LOL, Jared
worse.
Stroud.
Yeah, right. It could be worse, right? At least we're not, we're the second most embarrassing loss of the weekend, not the first. So, or of the week. So, yeah, that makes me feel just a little bit better, but also not really.
Right. That yeah was really that was the cherry on top there, but
Yeah,
it is what it is, bro. It is what it is. Like I said, this is all for, or like you said, all roads lead to Copa Tejas. So
yeah, it was always the plan. We knew that. We knew that.
yeah, 100% faking. Columbus Crew striker Wessam Abu Ali is out for the season after tearing his ACL against Orlando City. That's a big
Yeah, it is. I mean,
for
bro
the
had
Crew.
5 goals and assist already. It's almost like that's some team's entire goal contribution from one guy. So that's going to be a big blow for a Columbus team that was looking for some direction after Nancy left and roster turnover, and Abu Ali was supposed to be a bright light for them and proved it. A quarter of the way through the season, but tough for him to suffer this injury. I mean, we've been there ourselves, right, with Vasquez, so we know what it's like as a fan base to go through that. So hope he
Yeah,
comes back as strong as he was, if not stronger. He's 27. He's got time to do it, so he'll be fine.
heard. True, true, true. And then looking over at CCC play, those semifinals are set with LAFC and Nashville representing MLS, while Toluca and Tigres are representing Liga MX. And those games are set to be played on April 28th and May 7th. So MLS still looking for their second CCC title since I believe it was Seattle that last, got
Yeah.
there first. So
Yeah, this is exactly what Garber and MLS leadership hoped for, right? We get two of our best teams. If it's LAFC Miami, that's the best case scenario. But the team that beats Miami, making it
yeah,
to the final or semifinal, like that's all you can ask for as a commissioner of this league, and a chance to win. Tigres and Toluca, both good teams, obviously, but I think in the standings they're
sure.
kind of middle of the pack, at least this far into the Liga MX season. So, there's a chance.
Always a chance, brother. Always a chance. And then looking across the pond over in UCL play, those semifinals are also confirmed. We have Atletico Madrid against Arsenal, so AKA just Haram Ball final, and PSG defending their title against Bayern Munich. And so those games are going to be played across April 28th and the 29th and May 5th and the 6th.
Sure. Yeah.
So
My casual take here is that all roads lead through that PSG Bayern matchup, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Whoever
yeah.
wins that
Oh,
game
100%.
will win it all. So,
Yeah.
do I have a preference? I don't. I haven't paid attention in about a month for good reason.
Yeah. Well, there's a team. There's a team in that semifinal tie that was convinced that they were going to win a quadruple, and
True. That is fun to hate watch. So
yeah.
I like it.
Anyway, there's that. But that's it. And a quick reminder that we'll be taking the next week off and returning with a recap of the Toronto and the Houston game at the end of the month. And so we appreciate y'all kicking it with us on this episode of the Verdependent podcast. I'm Paul Fletes. You can catch me online at Paul Andrew FC. It's a government name.
And I'm Logan Bartlett. You can find me at Lobar VHLM.
And keep the chatter going online by following at the Verdependent on socials. And if you can, consider leaving a review, like, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. That's an episode, y'all.
Peace.
Peace.
Oh, why are you screaming at me?
Oh my God.